Well, to talk a bit more about this, let's bring in our foreign affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, first of all, give us some context here. What's actually causing these clashes?
Well, it depends on which side you are, but they're both blaming each other. The Azerbaijanis are saying it's Armenia which began by shelling positions along the two countries' common border. As for Armenia, it says it's responded to intense shelling against Armenian military positions. So it's hard to know exactly where this is coming from. This is a much wider process which has been dragging on for 100 years, really, since Nagorno-Karabakh, the enclave which is situated in Azerbaijan, was handed over to the Azerbaijanis by the former Soviet Union. And it all came to blows when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. And that was when the First War broke out, because Nagorno-Karabakh, which is situated in Azerbaijan, is populated mainly by Armenians. And they wanted to be rejoined up with Armenia. That's something that Azerbaijan is not in agreement with. So that led to the First War, which lasted for 2 years, ended with a ceasefire mediated by France, Russia, and the United States in 1994. But that has failed to move forward since then, and there have been renewed clashes. And a further amount of clashes broke out in 2020. 6,500 people died. And that second war was solved by the Russians, who made both sides sign a peace agreement. Now, this time round, it's hard to say exactly what is happening on the ground, but it's a very worrying development over the last few hours.
Philip, there was an appeal by Armenia for help Tuesday, for help from the world's leaders. Are they likely to react, and if so, how?
Well, they have been reacting, and we've had immediately a reaction from Russia, which has said that the clashes have stopped for the time being. I'm not sure that is actually the case, but that is what the Russians are saying. The Russians also say that they are intervening and will intervene if necessary to make sure the ceasefire is respected. France has also been on the phone, the French President Emmanuel Macron, to both the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan, and called on both of them to respect that 2020 ceasefire and for those clashes not to get any worse. And also the United States, in the form of Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, has also been giving his comments on what has been happening over the past few hours, saying that there is absolutely no way that a military conflict can solve the situation, and that he has called on both sides to stop the fighting, and that the US is deeply concerned by these developments over the past few hours between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
So isn't this also about a much bigger regional conflict, one between Russia and Turkey, really?
If you look at it from a much wider perspective, that certainly is something that could be taken into account. Now, why is that? Well, the first reason is that Turkey supports Azerbaijan because Turkey has never recognized the Armenian genocide, which was committed under the Ottoman Empire in 1915, when 1.5 million Armenians were massacred. Turkey has been blamed for that. It's refused to recognize it, although that massacre has been recognized by many countries around the world. So Turkey supports Azerbaijan, whereas Russia supports Armenia. And so this could be a way, if you look, of both countries vying for or jostling for control of the Caucasus region and influence in the Caucasus region, which is used where there are many pipelines transporting oil and gas. There is also oil in that area as well. And the other element here, which is important to say, Jeannie, is that we're right in the middle of the Ukraine war, and normally outside of that war, Russia would be ready and willing to mobilize its forces to go into the area to try to stop these clashes from taking place. What we're seeing here is the clashes coming right at the minute in the middle of the Ukraine war, where Russia's resources are pushed to the limit. Russia is suffering badly in Ukraine, as we've been reporting on France 24 in previous days. And there are reasons to believe that this could be an attack by Azerbaijan, knowing that Russia is weakened on the front in Ukraine, unable to come to the help of Armenia in this conflict, and therefore it may be able to make strategic gains during this period while Russia is bogged down in the war in Ukraine. And what the role of Turkey is in all of that, well, that still isn't quite clear just yet. But I think we have to look at this on a much wider perspective than just clashes between those two countries.
All right, Philip, thanks for that. France 24's Philip Turle.